Well, Coach, first win of the season's done.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk about football. Before we get into football, let's talk about a young man that is fighting for, not necessarily life, but fighting for opportunities to be able to do what he has done before.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Avery Lawson.
Yeah. It was a tough week last week towards the back half of the week, finding out his official diagnosis, which is a form of leukemia. We found that out. I know the family found out on last Wednesday, and that was a bit of a shock and a blow to our team and to our community, because obviously anytime you have someone with cancer, especially that young, that's a scary and alarming thing. And so our kids rallied around him, and I know that I just have nothing but good things to say about Avery and his family, and he's an unbelievable kid. Now that we know what he's been battling this last several months, it's pretty remarkable what he's done up to this point, in preparing for this season. He showed up every day at summer workouts. He was always here, and then he would leave here. I think summer workouts probably the easiest part of his day, because he would leave here and go work for his dad, and that's not an office job. He's out moving stuff around and working out in the heat, and so he did that all summer. And again, never missed. And then even when he was going through, his latest illness, was still at practice. Even though he's sick, he's on the sideline. And as even that Monday before he found out what his diagnosis was out on the practice field in a helmet trying to run routes. And so all that to say, he's a warrior and just the epitome of what the kind of young man we want to produce in our program, and I'm really proud of him and know that he's going to attack this thing the right way. And obviously, we want him to know that everything we do is to honor him, and we want to make him proud. And so I don't know if anybody noticed it, but one of the things that we wanted to do the other night when we scored our first touchdown, Chance threw a ball to Turkey. They pointed up into the press box towards the camera, and our whole sideline did the same thing. And that was, so we knew he was watching. We wanted him to know that we were thinking about him, and that one was for him. And so, that's how we're approaching the rest of the season. Is everything we're doing is for him.
Coach, it's tough to have an athlete that's worked like he has all summer to get to where he was, and like you said, up to the brutal end, he fought, and really no one really knew anything was wrong with him. But you said earlier in the season you thought he was maybe wasn't right 100%, but there's no way of knowing. You don't know if he got a bad day or didn't sleep well that night or something.
Now it's like once you find that out, you kind of look back at things, and we talked about there were some times where he just seemed like he felt really tired, and no one really knew what was going on. And but again, for him to be able to even just function the way that he did, and not even function, but just prepare and continue to work, and really no one noticed anything was off, is remarkable, and kind of speaks to the strength that he has. And so I know that there's a lot of things. Our community is special. Jefferson is an awesome place in that regard. They have a tendency to rally around their own and lift them up. And so I know there's been a lot of efforts to generate support for his family, and that we're gonna be doing a special ceremony for Avery in a couple weeks at our game versus Claywater and honoring him. And so that's in the works. And so I'm just always blown away by the way our community, everybody just pitches in and is able to pull something like this off and support members of our community. And so I've been really proud of our community in the last week and how they've handled this.
And those guys on the team, they're brothers to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'll tell you this: I've seen his Facebook page where he's all buffed out.
Yeah.
Dude, he doesn't have an ounce of fat on him. That
that's
cut,
right.
isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
I look forward to seeing him next year.
Yeah, that's right.
And as long as the good Lord's up there, he's going to take care of it.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we're confident in that and know he's going to be able to handle it. It's a long road ahead of him, but fortunately, I think they've caught it, early enough, and it's going to be able to be, treated, and it's just going to be a long road. So we're going to be with them every step of the way.
All right, let's shift a little bit. Let's go over to the Newton game. Overall, what did you think we did offensively?
You mean Leonard this past week?
I meant Leonard. Who did I say?
You said Newton. Yeah, we'll talk
Newton.
about that in a second.
Yeah. They're on my mind.
Yeah. I thought overall it was a really good game for week one. Of course, there's things that coaches are going to see that we don't like or we critique or things like that. But overall, I thought we did a really good job. I thought offensively we were really efficient. We scored on 8 of 9 drives. And one of those that we didn't score on was we had a penalty that set us back, and that kind of threw us off. But speaking of penalties, I think in our first game last year, I think our first 2 or 3 games we were averaging like 10 or 12 penalties a game. And last week we had 5, and one was on offense. The other ones were, what I say, they were subjective penalties. Whether it's a pass interference or it's a, the targeting call that we got that was questionable. Some of those things, they're up to interpretation. But when you have stuff like you're jumping off sides or it's a face mask, like that stuff's pretty black and white. And so to eliminate a lot of those, I thought was really good. To have 5 penalties in a week 1 game is pretty encouraging, and not have a lot of operational miscues. Whether it's guys jumping off or guys going in motion when they shouldn't. And so that was good. That was encouraging. On defense, I think we were all a little frustrated at halftime because for giving up those 2 touchdowns. A lot of that stuff was just guys trying to be anxious or over eager and make plays instead of trusting the scheme and the system. And once we got that settled down, we got that stuff fixed. That things worked out better for us, like they tend to do. But again, really proud of our guys from just from a whole team standpoint for starting the season off the way that we did.
And we got to see several guys in positions we hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
I mean, we had guys catching the ball and running the ball that I didn't know was even. I mean, I knew they were on the team, but they weren't necessarily in that situation before. And I can't say enough about Avery Lawson. I mean, that dude was everywhere.
Avery, you mean?
I mean, quarterback, Chance.
Yeah. Chance was. He did a really good job, and for anyone making their first start at quarterback, that's always a tall task. And there's a lot of moving parts. I mean, people are coming at you trying to tackle you, and offensive or defense coordinators are scheming you up, trying to stop you. And so for him to be able to put some balls on the money like he did, and then also run it when it wasn't there, and take care of the football, no turnovers, that was really good to see.
I didn't see any first game jitters on him at all.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool character. Doesn't seem to get rattled very easily, which is he's pretty even keel. Yeah. And so that's pretty characteristic of him.
What were your offensive standouts?
Well, I mean, obviously Chance with, I'm just reading here, he had 251 yards passing and 43 yards rushing with 6 touchdowns. One of those was a rushing, and then 5 of them were passing.
And most of them were right in their hands.
Yeah. And then Travis Gray, of course, 4 receptions, 163 yards, 2 touchdowns, kind of picking up right where he left off last year. But then I think one that was a surprise was Caden Grigsby, who's a sophomore wide receiver, which is probably, that name may not be familiar with a lot of Bulldog fans yet, but he's someone we've been that wasn't a surprise to anyone. What we saw on Friday out of him with those 2 touchdowns, because he's been someone who's progressively getting better and better. He was our JV quarterback last year, and in the spring we asked him to move over to wide receiver. We thought he would be that would be a really good spot for him. He embraced it and spends a lot of time working out on the field on his own, working on his craft, running routes, and so like I said, no one was surprised by the performance he had, and that's a pretty good to have 2 touchdowns in your first varsity start. That's a pretty good day for him. And then of course our running backs, Jacoby Morrow got a little banged up, but he was on pace to have a really good day, and Trey Moss, both of those guys are going to be lethal for us this season. And then I don't know if any of us were expecting Demetrius Carr to get in there.
Man,
and
that dude.
11 carries and 49 yards to kind of close the game out. And, he's just different. He's a tough little sucker.
Is.
And when he's got the ball in his hands, he's pretty electric. So he's earned him some more playing time on the offensive side of the ball. But he's just a great kid, and he's just one of those kids who's going to do whatever we ask him to do as a coaching staff, and he's always got a great attitude. So, that's kind of a rundown of our offensive guys. But overall, I thought we did a really good job over there.
Let's switch to the other side. Let's look at defense. Give me your defensive standouts.
So, I think, again, kind of speaking of picking up where you left off with Coben Tomlinson, who's our district defensive MVP last year as a sophomore. He had 10 tackles this week and 2 sacks and an interception. So, again, he didn't feel good, last week. He was kind of battling some illness and things like that. So for him to be able to come out and do that was, in light of all that, was really impressive. And so he was one, obviously. And then, of course, another linebacker, and Fisher Bradley.
His counterpart.
Yeah, that's right.
Inside
Fisher,
and outside.
Yeah. Fisher had a really good evening with 10 total tackles, and then he also, we had, I think something that was super unique is they scored twice, but we blocked both extra points and took them both back for 2 points. Of course, one of them was called back on a call that wasn't a holding call, by the way.
We had your back on that.
Yeah,
one.
That's right. But that's really, you hardly ever see that. I've never seen that twice in a game. I've been coaching for, I guess this is 17 years, and
that
not
big
ever seen
long-legged
that.
sucker has got some speed. Too.
Yeah,
he got out in front of everybody, and he had backers behind him to block. But
That's right.
He didn't need them.
Yeah. So Fisher had a really good game. Lamarian Douglas from the safety spot, he had 3 pass breakups. I think he had 10 tackles as well. And then Tyler McCurry had our first turnover of the season. And of course, with our defense, when you get a turnover, you get to go dunk the ball in the basketball goal.
I watched that. We were talking during the game.
Yeah.
What is the goal for?
Yeah.
And actually, I didn't see the first one. I saw Coben when he came in and did his.
Yeah. I joked with Coben. I thought we may have to lower the rim a little bit for him to be able to dunk it, but fortunately, he was able to pull that off. But no, that's something Coach Morales brought with him. Tuesdays for us on practice are turnover Tuesdays, so we have it set up on the sideline on Tuesdays. So if we get a turnover in practice, they go, whether it's against our own guys, whether it's against scout, whatever. Those guys get the ball, and the whole defense runs over to the sideline and they dunk the ball. And then we have a special football that's our turnover ball, and they get to sign their name to it. So it's just another layer of motivation for those guys to make them want to get turnovers, because that's super important. So other than that, up front we did really, really well. Corey Blanton making his first start as a varsity kid on the defensive line. Aaron Ballard also had one of those extra point blocks, returned back for 2 points. And then Bryson Mosley did really well also.
Coach, did you see anything offensively that we need to work on or change?
I don't know about change, but I think, from everything.
Correct, I should say.
Correct. I think you're always looking for ways to get better and to improve. And I just think, just from an operational standpoint, just staying on blocks and, just understanding, the scheme and what we're trying to do, and being able to diagnose defenses. But all that stuff's going to come with reps and with practice. And so, that's one thing. But again, we were pretty efficient. Went for it a couple times on 4th down and got it. And so that's obviously, when you have that kind of efficiency, it makes calling a game really easy, and so that's one of the things, I think I was, again, just really proud of.
And on the other side of the ball, Coach Morales with his defense, they had to learn a completely different defense what they had last year. And I thought, from my perspective, they were a little shaky the first couple sets. And then I thought they got in a groove, and they did great.
Yeah, and again, it's just, you have some guys in different spots, and there's different. It is a little different for us as far as the terminology and everything. But once the ball's snapped, in those first 2 or 3 seconds of a play, after that, it's just running to the football and tackling. But I thought they did a really good job, for week 1. But one of the things we talked about as a coaching staff, one of our coaches brought up, was that all 11 of those guys were playing different positions than they did last year. even if they're a receiver, they're playing a different spot, on the field than they did last year. And so for that, that's also remarkable too, to see those guys, function so well. Some of our offensive linemen, we're playing a guard spot, now they're playing center, or they're playing tackle, now they're playing guard. So again, that's another thing, that people have to keep in mind, that every one of those guys were starting in that spot for the first time on Friday night.
Coach, it seemed like, especially on the offensive line, they were growing on every down.
Yeah.
You could see they were getting better and better. They
Right.
got finally figured out what they were doing, and like you said, by the end of the game, they were making their blocks.
Yeah, absolutely. And two of those guys weren't even playing offense, last year. They were on the defensive side of the ball, and one of them was a freshman on playing JV football on Kimon Hall last year. So I was really impressed with those guys.
Coach, do we have any other injuries that we need to talk about that we haven't already talked about?
No, we're all 100% healthy. So those Newton fans, they can expect everybody to be ready to roll Friday. No, we got some kids banged up, but nothing serious. It's fortunately, again, Coach Reeves, our strength coordinator, does a great job preparing our guys each week. We lift 3 days a week.
He's a drill sergeant.
Yeah. We get that taken care of. And I said 3 days. We really lift 2 days and then do a lot of stretching and band work the other day. But, I think that's a huge part of our success and staying healthy and kids finishing games strong. So anyway, no, we got a couple guys that'll be banged up and may put some guys in different positions. But overall, we're in a good spot.
And this is just something that the fans like to talk about. They came out with the ratings. Jefferson in 2 of the polls was number 4. I think somebody had him at number 5. But we're going up against a team that's pretty much just like him. Newton is, they lost that first one to 4A West Orange Stokes, but they're number 5 in their division. So it's going to be 2 ranked teams that are playing. And last year they played the entire game.
Coach Johnson, that staff, they do a great job. That's a tradition-rich program that I think is synonymous with championships. And honestly, I think I said this last year too. Like, they're a type of program that we're trying to become like. And so we have a lot of admiration and respect for them and the way they operate. And so it's going to be a great game and a great challenge for us because. Like I told the kids Monday morning before practice, they're just as athletic, if not more so than us. So that's not how we're going to win the game, is out-athleting them. We're going to have to execute and take care of the football, that kind of stuff. But they're a big-time opponent, and it's going to be a great test for us on Friday.
Coach, looking at film against West Orange State.
West Orange Start?
Start, yes. I knew it was an S.
Yeah.
West Orange Start, we just always call them WOS.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little about how they did offensively and defensively against those guys, because that was a good team they were playing.
Yeah, so they actually jumped out. Newton jumped out on West Orange Start in the first half and was in control of the game and scored on some explosive plays, even scored on one through the air that made a big difference in that game. But anyway, we know that they're going to be extremely well coached, and they're really fast. They got a running back who's a junior who's one of the best in the state, and their quarterback is super talented. They have a receiver that's really tall and got some length that can take the top off of defense, and even a freshman that they put in at quarterback that's got a name that's synonymous with Newton football down there. And so they're going to be super talented, and it's going to be a great game. You got 2 teams like both of us that have high expectations, and so we're looking forward to the opportunity. It's going to be a good test for us, and so we're looking forward to it.
Something that our team is going to be unfamiliar with will be the stands will have as many as we had. They pack a stadium, and they're loud and vocal. So they'll get used to that rather quickly. But is there anything that, I don't know, would they be able to see this show before we air? They will be. Well, I won't talk about that. We don't want to give anything away that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
But is there anything from watching them play on film that you might want to attack, or something that you're
Yeah.
concerned about
Yeah. I
on
mean,
our offense?
yeah. Like, offensively, their D line is super athletic and they move around a lot and twist. And so our kids gotta make sure they're communicating and we're gonna have to, if we're throwing it, we're gonna have to get the ball out of our hands quickly and again, our guys are gonna have to get open because they're gonna be able to cover them. Defensively, again, it starts with their running back and being able to contain him, and he's going to make his plays. He's going to have some success, and we just got to limit that as much as we can, and really try as best we can to disrupt them and disrupt their flow and get them off schedule. That's the best thing with their offense, and they're going to run the ball. And if we can get them behind the sticks, then that typically bodes well. But if not, if they're playing, it's second and short all night, it's going to be a long night for us. But so that's going to be the kind of the game plan.
Coach, the kids see the stats and everything on Facebook and all the websites, but how will they react once they get on that bus and start heading toward them? They know they're going to play in a good team, a perennial powerhouse. Mm-hmm. What are they going to be thinking, you think, on the way there? Were they on the bus? Will you be talking to them, or you let them kind of just chill and get ready? Or?
Yeah, we don't talk to them much on the bus. We always meet on Thursdays and kind of have a team meeting on Thursdays and go over sort of expectations for the game and how we're going to handle it from a mental standpoint, even from a physical standpoint, and just spend some time kind of talking through some of that stuff. We always try to be really proactive with things and talk about them beforehand. Hey, how are we going to handle, if we when we win this game? How are we going to handle, if we come up short? What are we going to do? What are some things? How are we going to respond if we have a turnover? How are we going to respond if we give up a touchdown early on, or just all those things. What do we want to start? How do we want to approach this game? What is our approach going to be? All those things we'll talk about and kind of get their minds in the right frame of mind going into it, because we're big on visualization. We want them to visualize and spend Thursday evening and Friday morning just thinking about their responsibilities. And I feel like the more that they can do that, the more confidence it's going to give them, because I always tell them the best gift, the greatest gift that we can give them as a coaching staff is for them to have the confidence that when they step out on the field against whoever it is, that they have a belief that the game's over before it started.
They're prepared.
That's right. And you can't do that if you don't prepare during the week. Otherwise, it's just fake, and it's pretty, it's not very substantial.
It shows immediately.
Yeah. And so we want to have a belief that if they score on us or they get their stuff, like, we're good. Let's go back and regroup and operate better. And so those are all things that we spend a lot of time talking to them about during the week.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about defensive coach Morales. Mm-hmm. He came here from up north,
Mount Pleasant. Yeah.
And he's had to turn around he's changed a lot of things on defense as far as what we did last year and this year. It looked like, from watching the guys during practice, they've bought into what he's selling.
Yeah, for sure. He's he does a great job. He's really relational with the kids and super intelligent and intense and all those things. And I think he's been really just really detail oriented with paying attention and to what our opponents are going to do and really putting our kids in the best position to be successful. And so I've been really excited about him, and really all our defensive coaches have done a great job. Coach Biles, our secondary coach, has done a great job helping him, on the back end, and they work really well together. And of course, Coach Randolph coaching our defensive line. Our defensive line is probably playing way better at this point than any of us thought that they would, just because
they're pretty impressive.
Yeah, and so that's a testament to him. And then of course our linebackers with Coach Morales and Coach Todd coaching those guys up.
They're very impressive.
Yeah, so it's been I know that's been probably an Achilles heel for a lot of Jefferson teams in the years past, is just defense. And so we want to pride ourselves on playing great defense here.
All right, Coach, we're going to leave a little bit early. The pep rally will be at, you say?
10:50 Friday morning, and then we're going to leave. The football team's going to leave around 1 on Friday.
Got about a 3.5 hour trip.
Yeah, about a solid 3 hour drive. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Anything else?
No, we just want everybody to, I know our Booster Club's got a fan bus going down, which that's awesome. We appreciate that when everybody show up and be loud and enjoy a great football game Friday night.
And everybody say a prayer for Avery Lawson.
That's right. That's right. Thank you.
All righty. We're out of here, Jay.